My surprise team coming into the year this season was the Minnesota Vikings. I had a few. I had the Vikings, the Eagles were my late pick.
Yep.
The Vikings right now are 0-2. They're off to an 0-2 start. The Lions are 0-2. The Bears are 0-2.
No, they're 1-1.
The Bears, you're right.
They beat the Bengals.
The Bears are 1-1, and the Packers are 1-1 as well. Now, I'm not discouraged about these losses, and I think if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan watching this, you shouldn't be worried about this 0-2 start because both losses have been on last-second plays. I mean, week 1 against the Bengals, McPherson hitting that game-winning field goal on basically the only reason why that field goal even happened was because they called a fumble on Dalvin Cook. And what my eyes told me about that replay was that it was not a fumble. I did not think it was a fumble, but they called it a fumble anyway. Bengals win the game off a last second field goal. They win. Then week 2, they face Arizona. Now, I was surprised because I thought this game, after what I saw Arizona do to Tennessee, I thought this game was going to look much worse. But the Vikings offensive line held up. They played pretty good. They had a chance to win the game. Greg Joseph, who had hit 2 50-yard field goals in that game, has the chance to hit the game-winning field goal, 34-yard kick, and he misses. So the Vikings have lost both of their games off of last-second field goals. One of them, the opposing team kicked it and made it, and then the second one, their own kicker missed it and lost the game. But I think all signs point to the Vikings resurging past these blunders.
I'm glad you said that because let me ask you a question. They got Seattle.
That's
week
a win.
3, and they got Cleveland week 4.
I'm not
a chance they can go on 4 though.
Jarvis Landry.
Well, that's week 4. There is a chance this team can go 0-4.
Jarvis Landry's on IR. I don't think he's going to be there for week 4.
Are you scared of these games right now? Because they're just like Indianapolis. They're desperate. And they need
no
a win.
doubt. Look, they're going to beat Seattle.
Okay.
They're going to beat Seattle, and Dalvin Cook is playing too. And last year, they almost beat Seattle, and Dalvin Cook didn't play. Dalvin Cook is going to be the difference. They're going to win that game. Week 4, nobody is scared of Cleveland and Baker Mayfield. Let's just be honest. Kevin Stefanski's a hell of a coach. The Browns were supposed to have a good defense, but they're not a good defense. They're a bottom 20 pass defense. They're like the 11th run defense, and overall they're a bottom 20 defense in terms of points given up. Mm-hmm. So thus far they are not a good defense. These free agent moves have not paid off for them. I think they win those next 2 games, and they are 2-2. Then after that, I think one of those games is Detroit. That's 3-2.
And then Carolina.
They beat Carolina too. I think the Panthers. I think the Panthers are good, but I think as of right now they haven't faced a real test.
After that bye, they see Dallas, Baltimore, Chargers.
Dallas is a win.
That's a tough. And then Green Bay, they get the Green Bay.
They'll split with them.
San Fran is that. That's a tough.
I'm just saying. I'm not losing. Bro. I'm not losing faith in Minnesota. And week 1, 11 penalties for 100+ yards in the first half. They still almost won. Second half, they came alive. Their offense started to click. And there's a lot of bright spots on this 0-2 team. First of all, KJ Osborne, their third wide receiver, is lights out. I mean, he it feels like he's the guy Kirk Cousins goes to in late game situations. He has been lightning in the bottle for them. He's been amazing. Their defensive line has been good. Danielle Hunter had 3 sacks last game. Nick Vigil, pick 6 last game. Their linebacking core has been good as well. But the down spots, their defense ranks 27th in the league. I mean, Mike Zimmer is supposed to be a defensive head coach, and they've ranked 27th so far. Last year, they ranked 29th. And they made all these additions, and it's not showing up. Mike Zimmer's clock management also is a downside. And if there's one thing that's going to cost the Vikings this year is Mike Zimmer's stubbornness and inability to take accountability. Each post-game press conference, he's out there not taking the blame for himself. He's not, taking the blame for his clock management skills. He's always deflecting. he's not responsible for his actions, and I think Minnesota Vikings fans are tired of it right now. It's really, I think the Vikings will come back and they'll be in that playoff race, and I think they will make the playoffs, even when the division it's still early in the season.
Yep.
But I will say this, if you're a Vikings fan listening, it's really about what you want, right? Because if the Vikings go on a run and they make the playoffs, Mike Zimmer is staying. There's no way he gets fired after making the playoffs. But if the Vikings have another down year, like it looks like it's trending that way right now, and Mike Zimmer's defense underperforms again, he's getting fired. There's no doubt that this is his last year in Minnesota. He might get fired mid-season at this point. So it's really about, if you're a Vikings fan, is it time Mike Zimmer goes, or do you want to win and Mike Zimmer potentially stays as head coach next year? That's really, what it comes down to now.
I mean, I'm not discouraged because looking at the schedule, this is a tough schedule. You got Pittsburgh on here, you got the Rams on here, Green Bay twice, Dallas. You've seen Arizona already, Seattle, Cleveland, like I said. So I'm not discouraged, though, because Minnesota has the team to beat all these teams. They are from top to bottom, a really solid roster. With that Cleveland game, though, it was just like a completely different switch on that offense. First half, they looked great, like you said. And then the second half, the offense scored 7 points.
Cincinnati.
No. I'm talking about Arizona.
Oh, you said Cleveland.
Sorry, pardon me. I'm talking about Arizona. I said Arizona. Minnesota. Pardon me. I'm talking about Minnesota. There we go. That offense completely in the first half looked great, and then in the second half kind of didn't click the way it did. Arizona made some great adjustments at halftime. But like you said, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne starting to get it going. Adam Thielen, he's the perfect third receiver for those two guys, because those two guys are going to get all the attention and Osborne's going to get open. And then that defense, it has some names. Like you said, Daniel Hunter, Eric Kendricks is out there, Harris Smith. It has some names. It just hasn't played to that ability yet. But I'm not discouraged because this team is strong, this team is healthy, and this team has a lot of talent. And like you said, Seattle's coming up. I think they will beat Seattle. I think this is a bad matchup for Seattle. I think Minnesota, like you said, if Mike Zimmer can stop being stubborn, and if they can just click on defense like they should, then I think they can beat Seattle handily, honestly.
I mean, it's right now, Minnesota's problem is the secondary, which is crazy because they signed Peterson.
He looks terrible.
They signed Bashar Breeland and Mackenzie Alexander as well. I thought it would be much better. But Rondale Moore has over 100 yards on you, a rookie. I think he's good, but
he's 5'7".
I think he's good, but for him to have 100 yards on your defense, there's a problem there in itself. The defensive line is fine. Danielle Hunter played great last game. The game before that, Michael Pierce had 2 sacks. You still have Dalvin Tomlinson. And even on the other side, DJ Windham is not too bad. Eric Kendricks, Nick Vigil, they played fantastic. That front seven is good. It's really about that back end, and they have to hold up. And against Seattle, Tyler Lockett, DK, it's a big task, but those are really their only 2 guys.
Lockett has looked amazing.
Yeah, Lockett has been on fire. But those are really their only 2 guys. If you can stop them, if you can minimize even Lockett, I think they'll be fine because Gerald Everett is not much of a threat. And their third receiver, Freddie Swain, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not really worried about that. So they have to hone in on those guys and try to stop them. But I do think they'll beat Seattle this weekend, and they will be 1-2 and then go on this run.
I think the problem with the matchup with Seattle is the fact that Lockett, like you said, has been amazing, but Patrick Peterson doesn't seem to know how to guard receivers anymore. And this is going to be a matchup problem on the right and left side because you have DK, who is a physical, strong receiver that can go over the top, and then you have Tyler Lockett, who could virtually do anything on that field. This front seven has to have a game this week because I think that secondary could haunt them, and Russell Wilson could completely shatter and destroy that secondary.
Yeah, it could happen. But I think Kirk Cousins can do the same.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins has not thrown a pick this season.
Yeah.
Everybody loves to blame Kirk Cousins for everything, but he's thrown 5 touchdowns, 0 picks this season. He's even on a better pace to play than he played last season, and he was amazing last season. So Kirk Cousins has been good. I think the Vikings will click, but this is a wait and see. And obviously, after Sunday, we'll talk about what happened, and we'll talk about whether the Vikings did, in fact, go 1-2, or they are now 0-3, which I think at 0-3 now there is some cause to be really concerned, but not right now.
You know the narrative. When the quarterback doesn't win, even if it's their fault or not, they're gonna get the blame.